From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, auto crash kills 15 people in Niger and Ondo states. Police in Edo arrest 5 suspected kidnappers, recover arms. Syrup calls for arrest of politicians buying PVCs from poor voters. And Messi leads Argentina to World Cup glory, beating France on penalties in most thrilling final in the Mondial's history. Hello and a warm welcome. I'm Zainab Bala. At least 12 people have died along Lambata-Agaibida Road when trucks loaded with soybeans, benny seeds and other goods lost control 2 kilometers before Agai town. The United States Sector Commander of the Federal Safety Corps, Kumar Sukwam, confirmed the incident, saying that the incident occurred on Saturday around 5 a.m., 2 kilometers before the IBB University School of Remedial Studies in Agai. He said 12 people died on the spot while 10 others sustained severe injuries and were taken to Agai General Hospital for medical attention. Sukwam said accident involving 2 trucks loaded with soybeans and benny seeds and 75 persons were heading to Lagos from the north. He attributed the cause of crash to wrongful overtaking, speed limit violation, and loss of control. The sector commander advised motorists to maintain maximum speed limits and avoid wrongful overtaking, especially in the festive period, to avoid loss of lives and property. 3 passengers have been killed and 12 others injured in an auto crash at Shasha Market along the Akurewu Highway on Sunday. The crash reportedly occurred at about 5:50 a.m. Eyewitness accounts said that crash involved an ash-colored Toyota Sienna bus marked LND 778YG and another ash-colored Hummer bus with registration number KTN 298YJ. The crash was said to have been as a result of wrongful overtaking, overspeeding. Sources said 3 passengers inside the Toyota Sienna, including the driver, died. The eyewitness said that the driver of the Toyota Sienna attempted to overtake a trailer on the single-lane highway when he collided with the Hummer bus coming from Lagos State. The Ondo State Sector Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Ezekiel Sonala, said 3 persons died in the crash while 12 were injured. Sonala said that the injured victims have been taken to General Hospital Akure for treatment, while the dead bodies were deposited at the same hospital mortuary. He called on the general public to avoid traveling in the night because of the hazard associated with night traveling. According to him, drivers are strongly called upon to avoid overspeeding above speed limit. He also said that vehicle owners must, especially commercial drivers, must install a speed limit device, urging passengers to report any driver that does not obey traffic rules and regulations. Federal Capital Fire Service has called on the management of fueling stations across the city to ensure adequate training for their staffs and tanker drivers to prevent the incessant fire outbreaks witnessed in the last 2 weeks. The acting director of the service made the call during a stakeholders meeting in Abuja, blaming the frequent occurrence of incident on the non-adherence to fire safety measures. The report.
In the last 2 weeks, Nigeria's federal capital, Abuja, witnessed over 3 different fire outbreaks and explosions of tankers while discharging fuel at filling stations. A worrisome situation which had led to a threat by the Federal Capital Emergency Management to shut down all stations that failed to adhere to fire safety measures. In a bid to curtail these fire outbreaks in the city, the Federal Capital Fire Service convened a stakeholder sensitization meeting to appeal to filling station managers to always discharge their products at cold hours and to also ensure that their fire defense equipment are functional in the case of fire outbreak.
The weather is dry. Water moisture in the atmosphere is very, very low. And the kinetic energy of the electrons on the body of the trucks are very high. Then you see this differential static voltage is also very high.
For all the filling stations, they must have functional fire safety, functional fire defense equipment. in their filling station. The LPG gas must have sprinkler head upon them that will be cooling down the body, especially during this heat period.
While drawing the attention of stakeholders on their role to combat the menace of fire outbreaks, especially during this festive period, the acting director of the Federal Capital Fire Service calls for adequate sensitization among its staff.
We are drawing their attention so that for the much challenges saddled before them, they should adhere strictly on the fire safety sensitization. And that is exactly what we have given them. They should observe it strictly. And if they observe this one strictly, what we told them in the meeting, fire outbreak will be things of the past concerning all these filling stations.
The fire service also says that it will work with security agencies to ensure that filling stations follow the standard procedure of discharging products.
Suspected hoodlums on Sunday razed a section of the Owerri Magistrate Court in Imo State. This is coming barely 24 hours after the Olu High Court was burnt by fleeing hoodlums. The Magistrates Court, which is located at the heart of the state capital, is housed in the Owerri High Court. Reports say the suspects came with explosives and targeted a section of the roof of the facility. Although the extent of the damage caused by the arson had not been ascertained, it was however learned that sensitive court materials and documents, including files, were burnt. When contacted, the police spokesperson for the State Command, Michael Abatam, confirmed the incident and disclosed that the fire had been put out. He also informed that the command had begun an investigation with a view to arresting the culprits. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, on Sunday asked President Muhammadu Buhari to arrest politicians buying permanent voter cards from poor voters. In a statement, SERAP's Deputy Director, Kolaolu Oluwadare, said the President should urgently direct the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, and appropriate anti-corruption agencies to identify and arrest politicians who are allegedly buying permanent voter cards from poor Nigerians and promptly bring them to justice. The rights group also wants Buhari to ensure that the politicians and their sponsors who are suspected to be involved in what it describes as grave electoral and human rights crimes are named and shamed, regardless of their political affiliations. Now, a cross-section of prospective voters in Nigeria have expressed their determination to fully participate in next year's elections scheduled to commence from February 25th. The respondents told Trust TV Shafiu Suleiman that armed with their permanent voters' cards and confident with the reforms in the nation's electoral process, they remain upbeat that their votes will count. His report.
It is slightly above 60 days when Nigerians will go to the polls again to elect another set of leaders in another round of election in the Fourth Republic, which has stretched from 1999 to date. How prepared are Nigerians to exercise their democratic franchise is what we are set out to hear.
As for me, I'm prepared for the election fully. Personally, I am prepared because I'm duly registered and I have my PVC.
Very prepared, waiting for the date.
My PVC is ready and everything is ready as a citizen.
I've always done election. I look forward to it and I cast my vote.
As at the last count, INEC, which is the election management body in Nigeria, says there are 96.2 million registered voters for the next year's election. Some say this number is quite unprecedented and, of course, encouraging. But how sure are Nigerians that their vote will count?
Why my vote will count is because I'm very, very important and relevant as a citizen of Nigeria. The INEC chairman himself and Buhari himself have assured Nigerians that the election will be free and fair. And with the training of beavers, which the INEC chairman has consistently assured us, I believe that when I cast my vote, it will count.
My vote will count. INEC is doing a good job to make this election free and fair, and I believe my vote will count.
But the performance of the people we vote for are just below expectation.
With the introduction of the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, BVAS, And the INEC result viewing IREP portal, coupled with the body language of President Muhammadu Buhari wanting to leave a legacy of free and fair election, and the assurances given by security agencies in the country of ensuring a neutral and, of course, a level playing ground for the elections, Nigerians are just hopeful that the vote will count. Shapir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Osun State, Mutiu Ogbuke, has assured Nigerians that the 2023 general elections will be conducted despite attacks on its facilities. He made this known on Saturday during a sensitization rally organized by the Commission in collaboration with the non-governmental organization Power of PVCs for residents of Osogbo ahead of the 2023 polls. He also disclosed that security is beefed up at the Commission's offices across the state to ensure both sensitive and non-sensitive materials are secured. The REC said the deployment of the bimodal voter accreditation system and the results viewing portal for voter accreditation and uploading of polling unit results in real time had come to stay. Agboke warned Nigerians against vote trading, noting that a penalty awaits offenders. The Department of State Security, DSS, has withdrawn all its operatives attached to the governor of Osun State, Ademola Adeleke. Trust TV's Hamid Oyegwade reports that DSS operatives attached to the Government House and Governor's Office were also withdrawn by the service. Although there were insinuations that DSS withdrew its men because the governor insulted them, but the governor's spokesperson, Olawale Rashid, said it was as a result of interagency rivalry between the DSS operatives and policemen attached to the governor.
It's just a minor disagreement between the DSS and the police. And the matter has been reported to the headquarters of the two services. And it's been sorted out. It has nothing to do with the governor. The matter is a rivalry between police and DSS. And the matter has been reported to their headquarters. It's an interagency rivalry, which normally happens all over the state. Police and DSS fighting over position. Who should become CSO, who should become this. And the matter has been taken up at the DSS headquarters and the police headquarters. So if anybody is carrying any rumor around, that's not our business. But I've told you the reality of the matter. That's just what happened.
I said it is true that there is a kind of misunderstanding between the police and the DSS that are working with the governor, that are working at the governor's office. But it's going to be resolved very soon.
The Edo State Police Command has arrested 5 suspected kidnappers aged between 28 and 36 years. This is according to a statement from the command's public relations officer, Chidinwa Buzo. The arrest of the kidnappers is said to have followed a complaint made by a patriotic resident of the state. He said early Friday morning, a group of 5 men suspected to be kidnappers, heavily armed with guns and other dangerous weapons, invaded Ogoja Camp, also known as Fort Oga Camp, with intention to kidnap one of the heads of the camp. They reportedly shot sporadically into the air. They were, however, arrested by the police with the help of community members and the vigilante group from the Kamafua 2 community in Ehun-Obe local government area in Edo State. The statement said items recovered from these suspects include 1 double-barrel gun, 1 single-barrel gun, and 2 pump-action guns with their cartridges. President Muhammadu Buhari came into government in 2015 with the mindset of making the life of the average Nigerian better. His entire plan of doing this was based on 3 pillars: the fight against corruption, the battle to save the economy, and the war against insurgency. Now, 7 years down the line on his 80th birthday, there are mixed feelings on how much success he has attained. Kaindi Amodu reports.
The first few months of the Buhari administration were very difficult. The new president had come to a shocking realization that what was on ground was totally different from what he had envisaged when he was on the sidelines.
We haven't saved a kobo. And when we came in, we have to give money to 27 out of 36 states to pay salaries. After the bailout, some of them now are back to square one. They cannot pay salaries again. Which kind of managers are we? I like the elite to please sit and reflect on the incompetence of leadership in our country. Because that's the only way we can come up with a solution.
Dwindling revenue has continued to dog the government since 2015, and it has had to borrow to fund what it has earmarked for change. One of the things the administration identified was a huge infrastructure gap that needs to be bridged.
Nobody can deny Buhari the progress that we have made in terms of infrastructure since after go on. I've confronted somebody that said, take president by president and name what we've achieved. The next man you can talk about in terms of development in infrastructure after Buhari will be with Bangida, with the contribution of Abuja, the development in Abuja. But after that, tell me who else. We had road crisis, we still have road crisis. What the president has done, and it's very difficult to see a president do that. Look, we are not going to build new roads. Can we first rehabilitate the old ones that we have? Let us reconstruct the old ones that we have to a standard that can convey both goods and passengers from one point to the other. If we finish them, then we can start afresh and begin to look for new routes to build. And that's what my friend and colleague, former governor of Lagos, Babatunde Fashola, is doing in the area of road.
And his associates believe that the social investment program is one of the legacies that Buhari will be remembered for.
What I consider to be the hallmark of this administration is the social intervention program, which is a cluster of programs aimed at alleviating poverty, aimed at inclusiveness, and aimed at addressing the needs of the underserved.
The president will also be remembered for a robust battle against corruption. Critics still point out that some corrupt elements have slipped through the cracks under his administration, but it is generally agreed that the president himself stands aloof from some of the misdeeds happening around him.
The effort to rid the country of corruption, of course, is a mountainous challenge. It cannot be said that he hasn't done his best, because he has changed, as we speak, in 7.5 years, the moral tone of the country. You know, corruption on a grand scale has been abolished.
From day one, everybody knows that the president is the anti-corruption champion. And of course, he has been supportive, in whatever need that, we need. Of course, it is not all about political will, but political action. And he has exhibited, both in what we are doing. And of course, as the saying goes, this issue of Naira redesign that he came up with is helping us tremendously to sanitize the entire system of this hoarding and money laundering that is taking place, with cash, all around the country.
One issue that will continue to generate controversy is how successful the Buhari administration has been in tackling insecurity.
In a logistic supply route for the criminals, and of course averted several community clashes, restored socio-economic activities in the troubled areas, and arrested several criminal elements, including those who deal in drugs, as well as arms and ammunition. We've been able to ensure that IDPs are back to their ancestral homes. Those who are kidnapped are rescued. The militia camps, of course, are also, destroyed. And of course, arrest of gun runners, among several other issues. Yes.
And though there are incidents that indicate otherwise, his aides believe he has been very tolerant of the media.
In terms of having a record of tolerance for the media. No president has experienced this kind of tolerance in the media. He simply is the butt of many jokes, in social media especially. Very unfair editorials have been written. People, sometimes out of ignorance, write picture articles. And for him, he just takes in his stride.
As he celebrates his 80th birthday, there's a lot President Muhammadu Buhari should be thankful for. He should also be thankful for the opportunity to lead Nigeria in the last 7.5 years, despite the ups and the downs. Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
This is News Hour. Coming up after the break. How rising costs of food items raise concerns ahead of Christmas celebration. Details of this story after the break. Stay with us.
On Chibok Girls, did you read this 7 years ago? Did you know this fact on Chibok Girls, published on June 24, 2014 as a cover story by This Day newspapers, a sister to Arise TV when Senator Kashim Shettima was governor of Borno State? Chibok abduction. Presidential panel indicts military, absolves Borno State government. June 24, 2014. The Presidential Fact-Finding Committee on the Abduction of the Schoolgirls in Chibok, Borno State, in its report submitted to President Goodluck Jonathan last Friday, indicted the military for kidnapping of 276 female students from their school. According to a source on the committee, the report by the committee led by late Brigadier General Ibrahim Sabo, retired, came down heavily on the military for not responding to intelligence reports before the attack on the Chibok community and the abduction of the schoolgirls over 70 days. The committee, which advised the federal government to keep its report classified for the sake of national security and so as not to jeopardize the release of 219 schoolgirls who remain in captivity, also said in the report that the military also failed to respond to the attack on Chibok because soldiers were ill-equipped and ill-motivated. Also, contrary to expectations, the fact-finding committee absolved the Borno State government of complicity in the kidnapping of the schoolgirls and failure to provide security at the government secondary school Chibok. Yet, political mischief makers manipulatively used the Chibok abduction in their ethnic profiling of Kashim Shettima. Signed, Newi Integrity Group for Tinubu Shettima. 2012. Why was terror suspect Kabiru Sokoto at Borno Governor's Lodge under Kashim Shettima? The Cable revealed how Boko Haram kingpin plotted to kidnap Shettima's children at Borno Lodge, July 15, 2022. Kabiru Umar Sokoto, the convicted Boko Haram bomber, was hatching a plot to kidnap the children of Kashim Shettima, then governor of Borno State, when he was arrested in January 2012, a confidential memo has revealed. Sokoto was the mastermind of the Christmas Day bombing of St. Teresa Catholic Church in Madalla, Niger State, which killed at least 37 people and injured 57 others. He was initially arrested at the Borno Governor's Lodge in Asokoro, Abuja, on January 14, 2012, before he escaped from police custody and was re-arrested a month later in Taraba State. In a confidential security memo dated Thursday, June 14, 2012, that is just coming to light, Sokoto was reported to have infiltrated the Borno Governor's Lodge in a plot to kidnap the children of Shettima, who had relocated them from Maiduguri, Borno State, to Abuja for safety reasons. According to the memo which was submitted to the presidency, Shettima, who had spent barely 8 months as governor, had been warned that Boko Haram was plotting to kidnap his children for ransom. Shettima, who is now the vice presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress (APC), decided to relocate them, 2 girls and a boy, to Abuja and enrolled them at Turkish and British schools in Wuse 2 and Gwarempa. To be kidnapped for 1 billion naira ransom. The memo suggested that Sokoto was planning to kidnap the children on Monday, January 16, 2012, on their way to school. He was arrested by the police after spending a night at the lodge. Shettima had moved the children, all below 10 years old, at the time to Abuja in December 2011, about 2 weeks before the failed kidnap. He had relocated them from Maiduguri on the advice of security officials, and there were suggestions after Sokoto was arrested that some of them might have links with Boko Haram and were obviously passing information to the terror group. Boko Haram was said to be planning to demand a ransom of 1 billion naira, which was valued at $6.3 million at the time. Whereas Kashim Shettima is the victim, he is still being maligned by political mischief makers for ethnic profiling. Signed, Newi Integrity Group for Tinubu Shettima.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secured are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Or really, if you look at England squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back. You're still watching News on Trust Television. Our top stories. Auto crash kills 15 people in Niger and Ondo states. Police in Edo arrest 5 suspected kidnappers, recover arms. Moving on, as the nation counts down to the 2023 general election, stakeholders are worried that despite the signing of the new Electoral Act into law, political violence orchestrated by youth may still characterize the 2023 elections before, during, and after the polls. However, others on the contrary believe that with the new law, Nigeria will record a free, fair, and credible election devoid of any form of manipulation. Silas Lowell has the details of this report.
Nigeria's hope in the 2023 election is to have a leader that is capable of transforming the country to greatness and help restore its pride of place among the community of nations. To this end, youth have been admonished to focus on credibility, manifesto, vision and mission of candidates before casting their vote.
We intentionally come up with this idea just 3 to 4 days. We conceived the idea and I told that if I can actually do this thing, we can show into the world that as Waziri Atiku Abubakar is actually been accepted by all and sundry in Adamawa State.
Some youth in Adamawa said they have thought it wise among themselves to organize a 5,000-man march to sensitize youth and women on the need for a violence-free election.
Organization all over the 19 northern states, including Abuja. This is our first of its kind here, the Solidarity Rally. We intended to have 2,000 participants, but you can see the turnout is very interesting. The news have not gone so far, but people have actually come up drumming support for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. As you can see, we all occupy the major roads in the states. And everybody is happy, everybody is accepting. That is to show you how level that Atiku Abubakar is being welcomed and supported in his hometown, which is Adamawa State.
But we are supported in Adamawa State. I will give them our vote is. I will give them the vote. All the vote in Adamawa, Atiku is the base of it.
They admonished their fellows to engage in meaningful activities and avoid being used as political talks to disrupt a peaceful electoral process. From Yola, Silas Lowen, Trust TV News.
As part of our candidate series, which brings our esteemed viewers information about all candidates vying for the presidency in the 2023 general elections, here's the profile of the presidential candidate of Boot Party, Sunday Oluwafemi Adenuga, as compiled by Trust TV.
Sunday Oluwafemi Adenuga
is one of the 18 candidates seeking to take over power from President Muhammadu Buhari in 2023. Sonny, as he is fondly called, is the presidential candidate of Boot Party because of Our Tomorrow, registered by the Independent National Electoral Commission in 2019. Adenuga, who doubles as the national chairman of the party, is a technology expert and has degrees in mathematics, statistics, as well as diplomas in project management, among other professional qualifications. He has also consulted for several organizations in Nigeria, Africa, and Europe. Born in Lagos, 58-year-old Adenuga has either lived or worked in about 30 states and the Federal Capital Territory in the course of his assignment, including handling World Bank and African Development Bank projects. By his profile, he joined the public service in 1992 as an auditor too in the office of the Auditor General of the Federation in Lagos. During the period, he served in various capacities and ministries of the federal government of Nigeria and was later promoted to the post of Director of Audit in 2019 in the office of the Auditor General of the Federation in Abuja. Sonny's goal for running for the office of the president is to develop Nigerians and Nigeria, banking largely on his expertise in technology. Adenuga said the mantra, "One Nigeria," was not enough, noting that he threw his heart into the ring to become president to ensure one working Nigeria. Sunday Oluwafemi Adenuga believes that one doesn't need to be asked how he would lead Nigeria if he becomes president without having prior experience in governance, adding that experience in private sector was also vital and could be transferred when it comes to leadership.
Elders in Bodo community in Gokana local government area of Rivers State are seeking God's intervention following arrest of their sons after an oil spilled in the community in August. Members of the community marched from an oil-spilled site to the council headquarters in Po and to the palace of Berimene of Gokana Traditional Institution to inform the authorities that Bodo community is not at war with anyone, but their sons are in the hands of the security agencies. A native of Bodo community called on the government to ensure the release of their sons, who are still in captivity.
We are peaceful youth, law-abiding youth of the community. We have no arms in our hands. We have no machete in our hands. We have no anything that will arm anybody in our house. What we have in our house is only white handkerchief, and we should praise God. The people of our community, we are suffering in the hand of bad leadership, in our bad leadership, like our king and our elites. Today we are praising God. We are giving God all the glory for all what they have done in our community.
As I speak with you, some of our men are missing. As I speak with you, some are even lying in the hospital that were shot by gunmen that we don't know, unknown gunmen. We don't know them. We don't know where they're coming from. We don't know whoever that sent them. And we are begging and we are pleading that we need peace so that all of these men that we are taking will be recovered. We need our brothers back. We need our sisters back. We need everyone that was kidnapped, taken unawares in this community to be back. Please, we are begging. Please, we are asking for the chairman. We are begging for the governor. We are pleading with the president of Nigeria to come and help us, to come and assist us, to bring peace into this land, because we are lovable people. We don't fight. We have no cultism here. There was an amnesty some months back, which our people, they use our by. And I don't know why we don't have peace up till now.
Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission, HYPERDEC, has demanded funding partners to fulfill their obligations to meet the needs of the people. The managing director of HYPERDEC, Abubakar Yelwa, made the demand in an interview with the News Agency of Nigeria on Sunday in Minna. He said that the enormous initiatives outlined by the federal government for the commission will be met only through the cooperation and support of funding partners.
Our major concern now is, despite all these problems, our major concern is funding. I'm happy to inform you that the states and local government have been making their contributions very well. And in fact, the major aspect of our funding ability now is as a result of that funding. The 10% that we are supposed to enjoy from GEMCOs is not forthcoming. And a lot of legal issues came up. And we are now, because of those legal issues, unable to access that. And even what the legal issues favor, that is the payment of 10% of concession fee that the GEMCOs are paying to the federal government, is not forthcoming. Of the two GEMCOs that are operating, only one was, at least we can say, consistent with the payment of concession. The other one is not consistent at all. It's not paying. So that's our major concern, funding. And for the fund, it's not forthcoming at the same time. Well, as you rightly know, and I know also, the federal government is facing a lot of challenges with its dwindling revenue base, and that has been responsible for its incapacity to meet up that obligation. But we are still pushing. We are hoping that by the time the system realizes the impact of the commission and what it stands to do, it will be able to make this funding accessible.
Less than a week to Christmas, prices of essential commodities have risen beyond the reach of a common man. Some traders who spoke to Trust TV in Yola noted that the prices of commodities have been unpredictable for months now. The report.
Expectation ahead of Christmas and New Year festive season among many Nigerians appears gloomy owing to the hiking prices of food items. This is Jamaica Shopping Complex, where some essential food items become increasingly difficult for people with low budget to purchase due to price increments almost daily. Traders here said the high cost of food and non-food items ahead of festivities were testimonies of Nigeria's harsh economic condition, explaining further that many people may celebrate the Yuletide low-key.
Masu yan kayan nan mai sai mudu 10 yanzu ya dawo mudu 2-3. Mai sai mudu 2 ka yanzu gongon 2 gongon 3. Wahala ka akwai wahala. Ba karamin wahala ake sha yanzu. Gaskiya talaga yana shan wahala.
The rise in the price of foodstuff these days is alarming. Many of our customers who used to buy their foodstuff in bulk are now buying in measures. The situation is actually disturbing, and we are just praying that God will see us through.
Hada kawai ake. Yanzu ga kaya nan duk mun kakkasa. Mun dai zo nan muna jira. My brother, as
you know, this is one of the busiest markets in Jamaica. As you can see, it's almost empty. Our brothers and sisters who are getting ready in few days to celebrate Christmas are not coming because they don't have money. Food items such as rice, vegetable oil, frozen and live chickens, tomato paste, pepper, and other ingredients which are essential for Christmas and New Year celebrations are beyond the reach of many.
Gaskiya abubuwa ba abin da zamu ce sai dai ubangiji Allah ya kawo mana sauki.
A lot of people survive based on what they earn per month. And of course, price of commodities has increased, but the income has not. I believe many people will celebrate the Yuletide in an unusual way.
Akan samu kaza naira 3,000 mafi karancin kenan haka na wanda in karamin yaro ma zai iya ci. Akwai 10,000 akwai 11,000 zuwa ƙasa.
Although Christmas is few days ahead from now, chickens here are very much affordable, ranging from 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 and above. It depends on what type.
Residents said the increase in price of foodstuffs in Adamawa may not be unconnected with the recent floods which wreaked more damage to farm produce. From Yola, Silas Lowen, Trust TV News.
Elsewhere, residents of Jos, the Plateau State capital, have expressed worry over the high cost of food items, especially rice and chicken, in the market as Christmas celebration draws closer. The residents say the high cost of the food commodities in the market would elude them from enjoying the festive period, calling on relevant authorities to adopt measures to reduce the cost of the food items. Adu Musa completes the report.
Prices of food commodities in the market increased by the day. National Bureau of Statistics said food inflation rose to 21.47% in November of 2022 from 21.09% in October, an above market estimate of 21.15%. However, Jos residents said the rate at which the price of food items is increasing will affect Christmas celebration in the state.
Honestly, the way I am seeing this Christmas celebration is going to affect many of us. As you can see now, if you enter to the market, like past years, people used to buy plenty rice, meat and chicken. You understand? But now, if you enter to the market now, hear the price of the goods. Honestly, some people we cannot avoid it because
sample the opinion of our people, everybody is almost demoralized because the bag of rice costs from 35,000 to 40,000 naira, and the salary has not been paid. And again, even this year there was a lot of flood. So there are a lot of factors that are attributed to this. So as I'm talking to you now, there will be a lot of problems next year, January, after the celebration of the Christmas, because some people are desperate because of the hardship. Some people will go even at the extent of stealing to celebrate the Christmas.
The price of rice has indeed increased. A bag of a local rice of 60 measures is sold between 44 and 47,000 naira. Also, a bag of 80 measures is sold between 64 and 65,000 naira, while a bag of 100 measures is sold between 75 and 80,000 naira, depending on the quality of the rice. On the price of chicken in the market, dealers said is costly due to the high cost of chicken feed, which poultry farmers were complaining about. The price of chicken in the market is dependent on its size. We have prices between 2,500 and 15,000 naira. The price of chicken is expensive due to the price of the feed. Farmers complain bitterly about it, and that is why the price is high in the market. Many Jos residents said price of food items in the market is a source of worry and could affect this year's Christmas and New Year celebration in the state. From Jos, Ado Musa, Trust TV News.
Now, reactions have continued to trail introduction of cash withdrawal limit by Central Bank of Nigeria. Jimmy Azande reports that the youth in Makurdi, Benue State urged the apex banks to listen to the voices of ordinary Nigerians and reverse the policy.
It is like a foregone issue, but not for many who need more education on what the policy entails. Youth population in Makurdi share the views of many Nigerians across the nation.
The policy is going to be of more harm to the low or poor masses in the society. If there is a way they can do this, that they won't be able to use the percentage, like there's no need of removing percentage from money. If I plan to withdraw more than 20,000, it wouldn't affect me. I think it will be actually nice.
Not good for the society. Because especially now, come to think of it, why would they say the least you can withdraw in a POS is 20,000 naira? If you should withdraw more than that, there will be deduction of 5 to 10%. That is absolutely wrong.
They made a case for people who live in hinterlands and do not have access to banks and the internet for transactions. This segment of the youth felt the CBN may not have noticed the majority of Nigerians are still not conversant with ICT and yet transacting hundreds of thousands on a daily basis.
It doesn't favor the common man at all, and I want to rephrase my statement. This is the highest level of maltreatment and frustration to the common man.
It has its disadvantage as in a case of urgency, there won't be enough or sufficient money in availability, and coming to the grassroots, which is the normal poor, the mass, the poor people. If you have an urgent need to attend to, and the only amount you can withdraw a day in your ATM or post of sale is 20,000.
They appreciate the intervention of the National Assembly and called on the CBN not to add to the woes of the masses of this country.
But I see the policy is too stringent to the citizens. But there should be a kind of levity, a kind of a soft ground that the government should give, especially the less privileged. People that are less privileged, that open accounts, does not have much money in their account, and then if they are going to withdraw in case of maybe they have an emergency, then it will be difficult for them exceeding that 20,000 naira a day. So the government should look into that issue to work on the policy to favor also the less privileged.
Recall that the CBN announced that beginning from January 2023, withdrawal limit per day for individuals will be 20,000 naira and 100,000 naira per week. The youths are worried that this might not be realizable, considering the agrarian nature of most Benue communities.
You're still watching news on Trust Television. Do stay with us.
Ba a iya sutura da abinci jin daɗin duniyar mu ya ƙare. Za ka iya more rayuwarka da kayan alfarma na kamfanin Vento Furniture kamar su Ladi Corner Sets, Escape Sofa Sets, Acadia Sofa, Piano Sofa Sets, Sofa Corner Sets, Vento Sofa Sets. Sannan kuma za ku iya saka ƙayatattun gadaje na alfarma a ɗakunan kamar su Gold Cream Bedroom Sets ko kuma ku wadata falon ku da kujeru na alfarma irin su Sare Royal Set da Acadia Dining Sets. Ofishoshinku kuwa za ku iya saka manya-manyan kujeru na kece raini domin walwala da jin daɗin ku da abokan hulɗa. Kamfanin Vento Furniture ya tanadar muku gadajen bacci na yara masu inganci, kayan ɗaki irin na angwaye da amare har ma da sarakuna. Muna da shagunan mu a gurare kamar haka: 79 Allen Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos; 7A Azikiwe Road, Port Harcourt; 25 Glover Road, Ikoyi, Lagos; Shop U1 Jabi Lake Mall, Abuja, da kuma 4330 Walker Road, Windsor, Ontario ga mazauna ƙasar Canada. Vento Furniture mun zagaye ko'ina.
Welcome back. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has returned from Washington, D.C., where he participated in the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit. The summit, which held from December 13th to 15th in Washington, D.C., highlighted the U.S. commitment to expanding and deepening partnership with African countries, institutions, and people. The U.S.-Africa Summit, which began in 2014, is the biggest international gathering in Washington since the COVID-19 pandemic and the most substantial commitment by a U.S. administration to boosting its influence in Africa for almost a decade. President Buhari was accompanied by Bauchi and Kwara State Governors Bala Mohammed and Rahman Abdulrazak, the Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema, and other top government officials. On the foreign scene, Tunisians on Saturday overwhelmingly boycotted an election for a new parliament which would have virtually no authority, following a power grab by President Kais Saied in the birthplace of the Arab Spring. Electoral Board President Farouk Bouska said that by close of polls at 6 p.m., just 8.8% of the 9 million strong electorate had cast votes. That would be the lowest participation in any poll since the revolution. Now, opposition groups boycotted the election, saying it was part of a coup against the only democracy to have emerged from the 2011 uprisings across the region. Bouska acknowledged turnout was modest, but said it could be explained by the absence of foreign financing. In contrast to previous elections, preliminary results are expected on Monday. The ballot followed 3 weeks of barely noticeable campaigning, with few posters in the streets and no serious debate among a public preoccupied with day-to-day economic survival. President Cyril Ramaphosa will face Nkweli Nkwizi, the health minister he had suspended due to corruption charges in the ruling African National Congress conference. The 5-day conference in Johannesburg has widened the rift between its two major opposing power blocs, one of which is centered on current President Ramaphosa and the other on former President Jacob Zuma. Kwesi Mkhize, a former health minister and the only person to criticize Ramaphosa, is a supporter of Zuma's group following claims that his department had improperly granted COVID-19 related contracts to a business run by his erstwhile associates. Ramaphosa placed Mkhize on special leave last year. Now, Mkhize, who unsuccessfully contested for office in 2017 against Ramaphosa, maintains his innocence. Popularity of the ANC is at its lowest ebb and is likely to lose its parliamentary majority. A freak wave has killed 3 swimmers and injured many others at a popular beach in South Africa's southeastern city of Durban. Spokesman of KwaZulu-Natal Emergency Medical Service Robert Mckenzie said the wave on Saturday washed swimmers at the Bay of Plenty out to sea, drowning at least 3 of them. He added that at least 17 others were injured and were in serious or critical conditions. Now, a statement from the Eswatini municipality said 35 lifeguards were involved in the mass rescue effort and that paramedics attended to more than 100 people caught in the incident. The incident took place as Durban has gradually been reopening its beaches after closure due to high levels of E. coli bacteria coming from the city's sewer systems, which was badly damaged by deadly floods early in the year. And the floods, worse in the living memory, killed more than 400 people in April. And in sports, Lionel Messi crowned his glittering career with victory in the World Cup on Sunday as Argentina beat France on penalties in a final for the ages, triumphing 4-2 after Kylian Mbappe's hat-trick ensured the game ended level following extra time. Now Gonzalo Montiel rolled in the deciding penalty to give Argentina their 3rd World Cup and prevent France becoming the first team in 60 years to retain the trophy. But a truly remarkable game saw Messi and Mbappe both live up to their billing, with Messi scoring twice and Mbappe becoming the first player since England's Geoff Hurst in 1966 to net a World Cup final hat-trick in a game that ended 3-3 after extra time. Well, to discuss this, we have joining us live in our studio Daily Trust sports editor David Ngogbo. Hello, David. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, we've seen that Messi finally wins World Cup to add to his trophies-laden career. What could have been the case if Messi did not win in possibly the last World Cup?
Yeah, I would have said fate would have been completely unfair to Lionel Messi because this is a guy who has achieved so much, and the history of football generally will remain incomplete without a mention of his name. So personally, I supported Argentina against France just because of this young man, and my prayer was that the debate, the raging debate, the GOAT issue should be settled once and for all. And I knew very well that this was a golden opportunity, and I'm so happy that everything went according to my desire for Lionel Messi to emerge the greatest of all time, and it happened. So I have a fulfilled day and I have a fulfilled World Cup.
Okay, now many people said Qatar 2022 World Cup is the best ever. Now the final was as thrilling and captivating to the very end. What is your assessment of the showpiece?
Yes, I quite agree with such views because on the opening day, there was this huge disappointment when Qatar lost their opening match and the fans walked off the stadium. I was quite disturbed, feeling that maybe subsequently we were not going to have such a great World Cup. But the fans remained and continued to support the various teams in as much as the host nation left so early. So, and in fact, even beyond that, when you talk about officiating, this is one of the best World Cups in terms of officiating, minimal mistakes in refereeing, officiating here and there. So it has been a great experience for football fans around the world.
Okay, now quickly before we go, I would like to know, the World Cup has finally ended. What impression does this leave on Qatar as an Arab nation hosting the World Cup?
Yeah, it means that it's an opportunity for the Arab world to also participate more in football, because now the facilities are there on ground, and you know, this means that football will become even more popular in the Arab world. So it is a major contribution in that respect.
Well, thank you so much, David, for talking to us, and congratulations to Argentina.
Thank you very much.
Well, with sports, we wrap up news for tonight. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. Well, from myself and the production team, do have a good night.